Oshkosh Advisory Park Board meeting, December 9th. Roll call, please.
Bartelt.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Dirth.
Here.
Royal.
Here.
Hudak.
Here.
Metz.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Millet. Peschel is excused.
All right, last month's minutes. Any comments, questions, concerns? Emotions?
Move to approve as written.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right. New business. Bill, do you want to kick it off?
Sure. I'd like to introduce Michelle. I've always had a hard time pronouncing your last name.
Ogden Metzel.
Okay, so, and she has been our volunteer coordinator for the Millers Bay Shoreland Restoration Site for a number of years. And so annually, we ask her to come in and kind of give us a recap of how the season went and if there's anything that she needs from us, or and that allows the board also some input too about what they've been hearing out in the community regarding the planting project as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Michelle.
All right, thanks, Bill. So this year, I think things went pretty well. Again, since we've been out there working on the Millers Bay site and pump house site, we hadn't heard any negative comments in passing or anything like that this year. It's generally pretty positive. We had a lot of different community interactions this year, even more than in years previous. We worked with United Way this year, early in the spring. That was in April, so of course, now it was like winter. The volunteers were excellent, and they had volunteers that came out and gave us snacks and all the things like that so we could kind of warm up and everything. But we planted some brown-eyed Susans out at the pump house site to try to combat the Queen Anne's lace that kind of invaded that area. So I think that was a little successful. We haven't seen the brown-eyed Susans come up this season, but it can take at least a season or two for those to start showing up. But I did notice that there were less Queen Anne's lace, and we actually got all of them pulled by the end of the season. Of course, they're a biannual, so there'll be some that'll be coming up next year that were from a couple years ago and things like that. But, it's something that I think we're doing pretty good progress on. We also worked with Target again to put in the trail by the lake. So they help us put down cardboard and then put down the wood chips so that we can have a nice trail there, and that helps inhibit weed growth along the trail, so we have to do less maintenance there. We did do a lot of trimming of tall plants. And that is usually done incrementally, just depending on how many volunteers we have at the time to be able to manage that. We did have the Pathfinders come out in August, where we had about 20 people in the morning and 20 people in the afternoon helping us out. So we had quite the volunteer power to help us with that. We had a lot of tall coreopsis this season, which is a good native plant, but it is very tall and it can be a little aggressive. So we cut that back a bit just to give a chance for other lower growth and more diverse species to try to get in there as well. And we also had, at the end of the season, we worked with Oshkosh Housing Authority. We got some wild hyacinth. We also helped to get some diverse native plant seeds for another half of a site out at Nicolay Avenue behind some apartment buildings. So that was pretty cool. And it was actually UW Oshkosh students and an elementary school class that came out there with us to plant the seeds, and they did a scavenger hunt, and the college students and elementary students worked together to do those things. So it was a lot of fun. I always enjoy that because just, trying to interact with the college students and then, the elementary students and seeing them work together it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. So it's one of the reasons I do it, is to try to inspire kids to get involved in the city and to volunteer and get their hands dirty and to understand native plants and things like that. So overall, I think the season was a success. We've made improvements And, always new plants. We also got, the wild pink onion. We also got some of that in the viewing area too. We're always trying to get new plants to start growing there to get some new visuals and some nice little growth plants there. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to next year. Some of the things that are on my wish list eventually, we are listed as a Monarch Way Station at that site and the pump house site. So we do have a sign. So ideally, I would like to install that at some point. Just putting that in there a little bit. And Audubon has mentioned that they'd like to work with us on other educational signs and things like that too, should we want to do something like that. So just keep that in mind if that's something that you'd like to support us to do, or encourage us to do, not necessarily support, but let me see, anything else? I think I would also like to think about putting in birdhouses. I want to possibly work with the Audubon and see if there are some birdhouses that we can install on the site. It just helps it look more intentional and helps the birds too, because obviously the seeds and the bugs that come in with the native plants are good for the birds and things like that, but it'd be nice to have a couple things like that. It just helps the overall beautiful native look, I think. So those are just some things on my wish list for the next season, possibly, just depending on, what the city and board think of all that. So those are my thoughts. I'm hoping to hear a little bit of what you all heard about this season and see if you have any recommendations for how you'd like to see things next year, anything like that.
I got 0 calls, so nice job.
I didn't hear anything negative.
Some really amazing pictures out there that people have posted. So, yeah, very pleased. Thank you very much.
I like that, this year we're trying out letting that growth, did that get mowed or is it still up? I think it's still up, right?
We
I
left
haven't
it
seen
up
it. Yes.
on your request.
Yes, good, okay. Yeah, that's another new thing this year is that we're leaving the old growth up to help the different native insect species and different local animals be able to overwinter in there and to provide them habitat. Otherwise, if that's cut down, any eggs that were planted in there, it just really helps the ecosystem to leave that up, and then we'll trim it down in spring. And I think it actually looks nicer in winter, but so, I love seeing the frost on those things. It's pretty. But yeah.
Anything else? Thank
I'll
you.
just add that, I haven't heard any negative comments either. Most everything has been positive. So, I think it's been a great volunteer effort. You've been incorporating a lot of different groups in the project. So I think that really helps with the educational mission that we started out with on that project. So I think it's been really very good. So.
And I do want to thank the Wild Ones and the Audubon Society and the Oshkosh Garden Club and all of these groups that help support us throughout the season and help us with volunteer days and with funding and different things. And Benvenutos, we did a night out with them to help raise money. I haven't heard how much we made yet because that was just at the end of November, but a check will be coming for that as well to help support our plants for next year. We're hoping to get some new plants to put in, as always. Some pretty things to show. So, yeah, let me know what y'all think. We'll meet probably in January, February as a group to discuss the next season and strategize. So at that point, then we can have a calendar for next year for you all to look at and see what you think and get some feedback on.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
All right, Jenny.
Okay, so the first one here, so you guys didn't get your packet, but if you got to read the email, we're looking at, for 2020, bringing beer gardens into Menominee Park possibly. This would be set up quite similar to maybe the Leech Tuesday nights, how they're set up family-friendly events to get people down to the the Children's Amusement Center to the park in general. So we'd be looking at hosting them in the Kiwanis shelter and then kind of the open area to the amusement center there. So we're looking at, doing yard games, some kind of background band music, just food, probably food trucks, just a way to bring families down to the park to get that nighttime use down there as well. So we're hoping to host 4 of them, one in June, July, August, and September. It's something that we would look for sponsors for to be a part of it and to set that up as well. And we've researched some different areas. There are some different areas that did these in 2019 that were very successful. Lots of cool videos that they have, and just bringing families together to hang out and play some games, listen to some music, and good for all ages type thing. So we're looking for your blessing to move forward with planning these for 2020. So, does anybody have any questions or comments?
Would it be the sponsors working the event?
No, we would have, it would be run by the City of Oshkosh staff.
Okay.
So, depending upon how we look at it, with food and beverages, there might be some sponsors there certainly, but it would be run by staff. Yeah, and the calendar of events, the way we do things, we always have events at the amusement center on Tuesdays. The pool is Thursdays. Our Tuesday night concerts are on Tuesdays, so we thought the Wednesday was a good day to put it in there. So working at the calendar for 2020.
And we'll be skipping the lake fly season, I'm assuming, because that'll be a disaster.
Yeah, that's May. Usually second weekend in May, Mother's Day weekend-ish, so they'll be gone before then. Yeah, it's usually, that one's never really too bad, but.
Any idea of expected revenues with that?
Not really. Did you hear John? Did John see anything what they did? Yeah. I have reached out to some different communities to see what their revenue was from last year, but I haven't heard back from them yet. But, we're hoping that it would bring in some revenue to kind of build that area up and future events down there, so.
I think that it makes sense, and it might ease because South Parks is always so popular. It might actually bend that out a little bit, or I don't know how that would work, but it's another opportunity that's different. But
Sure.
people want to be outside and doing that kind of stuff, so I think it's a neat idea.
I agree. I think it's a good idea to try. See what happens.
It would be fun. It's, the nights down there are beautiful, and that would be a nice thing to bring some people down. We have really low marketing dollars, and no matter how hard we try, it seems people are like, oh, you have a zoo in Oshkosh, or you have an amusement center, so hopefully this will bring more people to the park just to see what we do have, and with the new playground down there too, that'll just bring families down to spend some time in the park, so.
What would be nice with this kind of event would be a carousel. I don't know if you guys have thought about putting one in there.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Now you pedaled off the carousel. Nice job.
It was actually just removed this past week.
Oh, was it?
So the rest of it,
A lot of
yes.
winter usage?
Time. What? Oh, do we have to
I
do
make a motion to approve.
Second.
Who seconded him?
No.
Scott?
No.
Build it.
Bill?
Bill Miller.
All right, to vote, Lauren, or Bartelt?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
Dirth?
Aye.
Royal?
Aye.
Hudak?
Aye.
Metz?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Motion passed, 7-0.
And again.
Okay, so next one up is Pollock Pool. So the water park opened in 2006. We have not done any increases in daily fees since the pool opened back in 2006. We did do the season passes, a slight increase on those a couple years ago, and we put the non-resident fee into place for the season passes, but we have never looked at the daily passes. So we had sent out a chart to for pool comparison in the different area pools that Stacy gathered this information to see kind of where they were at, so we could recommend what we are looking at. So we have a before 5 and after 5 fee at the pool. So we're looking at $1 increase for youth, adults, and the group rate coming into the facility. And again, this would be the first increase since 2006. Going off of this year's numbers, if we raised everything $1 and the number of visitors this year, we would see an increase of 39,000 with $1 increase per ticket. And reasons, you know, we need to do this, things keep on, the cost of things keep on raising. Our wages, our lifeguard wages, all those things are going up, and to offset some of those expenses. And we had a leak this year in the Lazy River. So just to offset some of those costs of maintaining and running the pool every year, we need to look at doing the increase.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with this at all. I looked at it, everything seems pretty good. The concern I have is that we haven't looked at this in 13 years.
Ray
I
and I
mean,
were talking.
so I guess what I'd like to do is throw out a caveat that Ray, we get commitment out of you guys to look at this at least every other year. Because that revenue is gone. We should have done this years ago, and that revenue's gone forever, so.
I can address that. If you, we do take a look at it actually, internally our staff does, and if you look at the comparables, we're pretty close to where we need to be. So we haven't increased them because the market really hasn't changed much. But as Jenny said, the operational costs continue to go up considerably, and as Jenny put in her memo, that the lifeguard staff is the biggest issue. With the economy, it's getting hard to find those staff. So we're looking at, you know, an additional benefit of paying them for training. The other thing to your question, Bill, or your comment, the finance department is actually working at a whole city policy for fees for the city, and this started a couple of years back, looking at various fees and when they should be reviewed and increased possibly. So part of it will be done with that, but we have looked at them. It's just we really haven't had any increases because it was the market driving.
And I want to be clear, I'm not criticizing. I just think 13 years is a little too long to go without taking a look at this. And like you said, if you're looking at it internally, I've got zero problems. But again, we know costs go up every single day, so.
Yeah, and again, you know, you take a look at, I'm just looking at the daily youth, somebody's as low as 2 and the highest is 4, and we're currently at 3, so we were right in the sweet spot basically until now. So I think what Jenny's proposing isn't on a line, but definitely we can look at them more. And we can just bring back a report saying we looked at them, we did a comp study, and we're not recommending any increases. At least you guys are aware of what the market's doing then too, so.
Yeah, no, Jenny, thank you.
I don't know enough about the pools in the area. They have similar size of pools, like offerings with slides and lazy rivers and things like that? Because it seems like we have a nice one. We might be wanting to lead the market, and we should be at the top of the price point. So when you're looking at prices, how do these other pools compare?
I gotta be honest, you know probably more about
Tony, I think you hit on the head. It's comparing apples to apples on the different types of facilities and what amenities they have and attractions that go forward. I would say across the valley, even up to Green Bay, there's a lot of similar facilities.
Okay.
Plus there's new construction that's out there too that might draw more. But obviously we're trying to cater to the local residents that are here. If you get a slight regional draw, that's a bonus. But it's still a great facility. But after 13, 15 years, things start aging, things start taking place, and that's just the nature of those types of operations going forward. But we'll continue to look at. We're trying to do different things as well as improve our site amenities too that need to be changed over, like we did last year with a little tot slide with the clownfish. It'll be a continual progression, hopefully going forward over the next few years as well.
When I was looking at the surrounding ones, I tried to make sure there were places that had the slides and the different kind of amenities that we have, so it would be comparable. I didn't want to find one that's literally just a pool. I wanted to find something that has some of the other options as well.
Cool.
Yeah, and for our facility, you know, being 13 years old, that we definitely, you know, maintain it. I mean, there's things that come up that need to be replaced, and we do. And that's where the endowment at the foundation is nice, but it's still a very good looking facility for being 13 years old. So.
Anyone want to make a motion?
Oh, motion.
Second. Go right ahead. It's all you, Pat.
Bartel,
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Dirk,
Aye.
Royal,
Aye.
Hudak,
Aye.
Metz,
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Motion passed 7-0.
All right, Bill, you're up again.
Okay, thanks. Next item is discuss and recommend proposed fee increases for Riverside Cemetery for 2020. We also operate Boyd Cemetery, which some of you may be aware of. That's a small one down on Waukau, but we don't do a lot down there anymore as far as burials or anything. We just primarily do the maintenance. We have last revised the fees in 2013, so we thought it would be a good time to take a look at what some of the other competitive cemeteries are charging currently for their services as well. So we've got it broken down into the cost of a burial space for either a resident or a non-resident. We've maintained that differentiation over the years. And then we also have internment costs, which is essentially the cost of burial. So we've increased a little bit based on some of the other competition that we've looked at. We kind of averaged out, again, similar cemetery operations, some of them municipal, and then also took into account that Riverside Catholic also has a presence there on basically our same cemetery property. So we wanted to kind of keep in line with, what some of the other surrounding cemeteries are charging as well. Our costs, of course, continue to go up to some degree with equipment and maintenance and labor and that sort of thing. So we wanted to try to help recoup some of those expenses and also try to make sure that it's a good value too for our citizens. So we didn't want to price ourselves out of the market like some of the for-profit cemeteries charge substantially more fees and for their services. So we didn't want to get it to that realm, but we just wanted to make sure that we could decrease the tax levy subsidy that's plays into our cemetery operation quite extensively. So I don't know if anyone has had a chance to review things. I think most of the increases that we're proposing are relatively nominal, but and some of the fees are actually staying the same. So that'll open it up for discussion.
So it's basically cheaper to die in the summertime is what you're telling me.
Right. If you can plan for that, you can save yourself about $100.
It's like a foundation. It's
Right.
more expensive to put in the wintertime.
Yeah,
And during the week.
right. During the week and not after hours. So, but yeah, we do have expenses for winter burials in the sense that we do have a propane heater that we actually thaw the ground with, or cutting through the frost is obviously more time consuming too for us. So that's the reason for the difference on that.
Questions?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the
I'll
pricing the way it is. It's important for guys like me that are getting a little closer to the grave, so it's good to know. Thanks, Bill.
Bartel,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Dirk,
Aye.
Royal,
Aye.
Hudak,
Aye.
Metz,
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Motion passed 7-0. Good to plan ahead.
Might want to get your order in before the
I definitely, yeah, I'm gonna get in there, trust me.
Reserve early, reserve often.
All right, we're up for staff reports. Ray?
All right, the master plan for Lakeshore Park, due to some conflicting schedules with Smith Group, they were not able to meet with the Plan Commission until last week. Plan Commission unanimously approved the document that you guys recommended. Some very favorable comments from a number of the Plan Commissioners as far as the process and the product, so kudos to this group. So it's on the council agenda for tomorrow evening for final approval, so stay tuned for that. The operating and capital improvement program budgets were approved by the council in mid-November. Just to give you an idea on the projects that this board had sent forward as far as recommendations for 2020, there's the land sale proceeds from Lakeshore to begin Phase 1 development out at Lakeshore Park. So that is in there. Design services for the Rainbow Park improvements. If you recall, that's really the south side of Rainbow Park near the boat launch and parking lot area. West Haven Circle Park, the ball field updates. Spanbauer restroom updates. And that's really it for park projects. There's a number of pieces of equipment for both landscape operations and parks that were also included in that. So all in all, I think we'll have another busy year, and you'll be staying involved with the development of Lakeshore. Last month, we received a donation from the Chris Kegel Foundation. Chris was the founder of Wheel and Sprocket bike shops. He passed away a few years ago, and they started a Chris Kegel Foundation, and they reached out to the city and wanted to make a donation of a bike repair station. So we worked with them, and we located it on the Boatworks site right by the restroom area. So that, I know, had got some social media traction right afterwards, but we wanted to make sure that the residents knew that that is now part of the bike and trail system in the city, and thank the Chris Kegel Foundation for that donation. The River Walk, the section basically between Boatworks and the Oregon-Jackson Street Bridge, I believe was going to be starting to be closed today. There's a sewer outfall that needs to be installed. So a section of the Riverwalk needs to be removed, and it'll be coming in through the Riverwalk to get into the river, obviously. And the reason, I know we've been getting calls from citizens saying the lights weren't working in that section. The lights were never hooked up because we knew that this project had to get completed. So the project, I believe, is scheduled to take about 2 to 3 months roughly, so the trail will be closed down. Once everything from the sewer outfall getting installed is completed, and everything's patched back up, that's when the electric will get hooked up. So it should be lit, hopefully going into next spring in that section. Other than that, just happy holidays, because the next time we meet will be after the new year. Thanks.
Chad?
Just to echo some of Ray's comments in regards to the projects for 2020 that were approved, where it's gracious, nice to see some of those things be able to take place or carry forward into next year. But we're still working on things here for 2019, hoping the weather would still cooperate with us on different items. But just went through the rest of West Haven Park restroom for a punch list here a week ago, so just a few fine tunes, but that'll be up and running come springtime without a problems. We're still continuing to work on the Tech Miller Park batting cage, hoping for some frost in the ground so we can get in there with the equipment to do the work that we want to do for the bases and stuff, and then work with the rest of our flat work next year for concrete. Eagle exhibit, if you've been down around Menominee Park Zoo, you'll see the fabric has been installed and the framing around that. So our utilities are in. They're nearing the end of theirs. We just wish we could do more restoration work down there right now because it's very sloppy. And hopefully it'd be a little drier for us to do that. But we'll see what Mother Nature does the next couple of days with freezing up. At least get it useful to work for in those conditions. If you've been around to some of the playgrounds this summer, I know we've had complaints in regards to Seasand and Sailorland with some of the surfacing rubbing off of the components that are down there. We actually met with the Playworld representative and got everything under warranty and received all the parts at our shop here this past week, and that'll be for the 3 Playworld systems we have at Seasand and Sailorland, Fugelberg Park, and at Bauman Park. The decks will be replaced in there, and then at Seasand and Sail, we also have the merry-go-round that will receive new decks and bearings for that. So those are big things to take place here, hopefully in the next couple weeks, granted the snow stays away from there. But other than that, we're in winter operations modes and trying to keep up on some other things that we go in and looking forward to planning for 2020. So.
Great. Bill?
Okay, we're busy as well. Right now, we're getting into a lot of our winter removals, tree removals. So we've got quite a few ash, as I mentioned in our last meeting, that we're working on right now. So then once we kind of get caught up on some of those, we'll be going into the pruning cycle. We're working a segment that's on the south side of town here this winter. So that's part of our 5-year cycle that we go through throughout the city. So the guys will be working on that. We're hoping for not too much snow that makes our work go a little quicker. Also, as was mentioned, that we did receive approval for some new equipment too for the divisions. So we're working on the specifications for that equipment currently. Also, a lot of our tree inventory data gets updated throughout the winter. So all of the trees that we've planted this year get recorded in the GIS, as well as all of the pruning items as we go through the different areas. We'll put that data into our inventory too, so that we can record any information about specific trees and when they were pruned and that sort of thing. So that'll be ongoing throughout the winter. Recently, we worked with the planning division on putting together a grant application through America in Blooms, which is a nationwide grant organization that is also sponsored by CN Railroad. And so we put together a plan to put in some landscaping around the new Oshkosh area community playground. So we're hopefully hear word by the end of this month regarding our success on that. So it's a fairly large area, so we're hoping to enhance the new playground by putting a nice landscape planting around the perimeter of it. Add a lot of color and interest that way. So keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully we'll be receiving something from that. So otherwise, we're just tearing into winter. So we've still got some projects out there that we want to complete, of course, but I think everything's been going quite smoothly.
Jenny?
All right. So really in December, January is our big time to work on planning for 2020, and I work a lot on getting sponsorships in for all the different events at all the facilities, as well as filling out grants for some of our different programming. We have some winter events planned. We're going to be doing some family events in June, July, or no, that's summer. January. Yeah, I just want it to be summer.
Yeah.
January, February, and March, we have an event planned each month at the senior center, family events, trying to get into some more of the winter stuff for families to come out and do something if the weather is decent. So we have some fun events planned for that, and really just, like I said, working on sponsorships and grants and things. By February already, applications start coming in for all the facilities, so these next 2 months are really important to try to get all that planning and sponsorships done. So yeah.
Thank you. Any other business?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Just build that especially.